This is Future Brisbane, presented by the Courier-Mail in partnership with Sky News.
Hello, I'm Peter Stefanovic and welcome to Future Brisbane, here on the banks of the Brisbane River in Queensland's capital. This program aims to explore the possibilities and the priorities for the area as we approach the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games and beyond. From planning to sustainable growth and cutting-edge technology, we'll set out a blueprint for this vibrant river city featuring South East Queensland's top leaders and visionaries.
Brisbane should be wearing the crown as Australia's most livable city. Our weather and lifestyle already make us the envy of the nation. We have world-class arts and cultural experiences. Exciting dining and entertainment precincts are bringing the river to life in a quintessentially Brisbane way. Education, major events and tourism are celebrated across our city. We have big dreams and burning ambitions to become Australia's centre of excellence for sport, technology and health research. A better connected and more accessible city and region, where Australians can find a home and business can attract the world's best talent. A city that harnesses its outdoor lifestyle and improves livability for future generations. In 2032, we will become Australia's third Olympic city. Melbourne and Sydney are often touted as the most livable, but we know our booming population growth is being driven by migration from those cities. It's time to make Australia and the world realise we set the gold standard. The Olympic and Paralympic Games can redefine Brisbane and deliver a lasting legacy.
Welcome to Future Brisbane 2023. Solving livability is a bit like that old joke where you get 4 economists in a room and you end up with 11 opinions. Even ChatGPT is a bit confused. So this morning I asked ChatGPT, what's the most livable city in Australia? It said it was Melbourne. And I thought, well, that can't be right. So I then asked ChatGPT, can you provide a photo to prove this? I think we might have a... So I actually wrote this speech before Peter reminded me it's streamed live. So apologies to our Melbourne audience. We love Melbourne. Today we've gathered some of the sharpest minds in the business to discuss and debate how Brisbane can and should become the world's most livable city. We at the Courier-Mail believe we've got a responsibility to lead that discussion, because advocating on behalf of our community was a promise the Courier-Mail's founding editor Arthur Sidney Lyon made 177 years ago.
My presentation today, Reimagining South East Queensland, Reimagining Queensland, and I think bold enough to reimagine Australia over the next 10 years. If you have done this exercise looking forward 10 years, at any point in the last 30 years, I think the view would have been pretty much more of the same. I think differently about the next 10 years, in particular with regard to Queensland and to Brisbane. I think we're at an inflection point. I think that we're shifting our definition of what lifestyle means in Australia. I think Australia is a rich country. When you look at IMF figures, we are in fact number 13 in terms of global economies by GDP, and we rank number 10 out of 195 on GDP per capita. Not a bad effort for 25, 26 million people. We spend our wealth and prosperity on quality of life, on lifestyle. We are predisposed to that, and I think that Australians are reimagining what quality of life and lifestyle might mean. We will deliver more kids, more students, more career peakers, those 47-year-olds, and more elderly over the next 10 years, particularly in Brisbane, in fact. This, I think, lays the foundation for a Brisbane that is better articulated, better nuanced to the demography that is evolving and to the values of the Australian people, that I think ultimately will deliver a better quality of life than we have today by the time of the 2032 Olympics.
It's great to be here with such an esteemed panel of guests this morning, talking about what is an incredibly crucial issue, and one that my team and I write about daily in the Courier-Mail and Sunday Mail, and that's the housing crisis and infrastructure and urban planning going forward in the lead up to the Olympics and beyond, really. I think anyone who speaks to you around Brisbane, when we talk about livability, this is absolutely one of the crucial challenges we need to look at. Lack of affordable housing, lack of housing supply in general, and then infrastructure and how we deal with it while it's being built and what we do to increase livability in that time. Peter, I know you've been previously in discussions about how we better use green space within the city in the lead up to the Olympic Games. I think you previously suggested a green lung through the heart of Brisbane to rival New York's High Line. Where are we at with discussions with that, and are there other options being looked at the moment?
I think what's great about a moment like 2032 is that it catalyses a whole bunch of discussions about the potential of the city. And one of the things which I have said previously and will continue to say is that the city is not a thing that's owned by others. The city's ours, right? It belongs to us. And I've actually will always encourage people to have a really positive conversation about the city that they live in. And we owe it to ourselves to be building and investing our time every day to be building the city of our dreams. If the city is, in fact, as the demographics point to, on its path towards doubling its population, I'm a pretty simple human being. I look out the window, everything I see times 2. And are we really proposing to be a city of twice the size and still going to be a city of merely 2 stadiums, only 1 South Bank? The conversation shouldn't really be, the conversation is down here. We're talking about how do we polish up what we already have. My proposition is to look deeply into the future and think about your kids and your grandkids, and let's try and use this moment to be having really a vision-led proposition for a city, Brisbane 2.0, a doubling of this city.
Okay. Anthony, you do a lot of research in the area of urban planning and design. We heard Bernard talk about the move from maybe a fried egg to a scrambled egg, the need for these mini CBDs scattered throughout Greater Brisbane. How do we go about connecting our neighbourhoods more sustainably?
Well, I think it's about the critical importance of working together. That is across government, community, industry and with universities around adapting the city and making it more resourceful, resilient and prosperous. And I think in terms of infrastructure, if we think about the innovation in South Bank, that was a world-leading proposition around how to make a new space in the city. And it was the result of bold ideas in the sense that the original master plan was abandoned for that place because the community spoke up, people understood there was another way that you could think about living in the city based on the views of people. So in other words, it was about listening out for the public good and not simply launching in with a master plan which we knew in advance. So I guess going back to Bernard's point about the big, bold idea, we have to be prepared to try things, innovate, try and work out what's next, because we are going to create a city which is going to take us beyond South Bank, in terms of what we can produce. That's got to be, South Bank is our benchmark. We have to go beyond that in terms of what we're going to produce for the city in terms of infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd just like to ask you, what do you think could be the one possible urban renewal project or planning decision or proposal that we could do in the lead up to the Olympic Games before then that would make the city more livable? I'll start with you, Peter.
Yes, I think an easy thing to do is the thing we've been talking about for a while, which is to establish our version of the New York High Line, which is the Green Line that runs from the University of Queensland along the backbone of Cross River Rail, through all of our knowledge precincts and health precincts, through South Bank, out through Courier-Mail, over through Roma Street, it's going to be renewed, up through Victoria Park, which we should be strapping rockets to, down through RNA, out to Bowen Hills renewal. Albion, of course, is going to be renewed, wonderful, out to Hamilton North Shore. That covers the inner stretched egg of the inner 5K, and we could be at Boggo Road right now and we could say, how about we go to lunch at Hamilton North Shore and we could jump on our e-scooter and be there in 25 minutes and it would be fabulous connectivity for the city.
Love it. Anthony?
I think it's about next generation built environments being about mixed use. I think Bernard referred to this before. We know in COVID we got used to our local place, and we wanted to get things locally. So having all of the services, having housing, productive activities, community infrastructure, and will make it socially and economically more sustainable place, and we need to create those kinds of hubs.
Okay, Graham?
When we were doing our precinct strategy, this is back pre the Olympics announcement, but it's still relevant now. The bit that we scored down on compared to Melbourne was connectivity, so that ability to move seamlessly. So picking up what you're talking about, the arbour, the ability to move around. But we're getting there with things like the bridge that's happening, Cross River Rail, because the river creates this barrier, but the ability to move freely across the river and in and around where people want to get to, so places of entertainment, restaurants, this is a fantastic facility here. It's just changed the face of Brisbane, so well done, Luke. But that connectivity, but doing it in a way, as I said before, around accessibility. So people with, with accessibility needs, they're not excluded from it. They've got the ability to join in. They come to Brisbane and go, what a fantastic city. It's so easy to get around, whether it's on a bike, in a wheelchair, walking, whatever it is, that connectivity is fantastic.
Okay. And Jen, finally.
Yeah, all of those things. I think, as Chris often talks about, the CBD is going to be the village for the Games. It's going to be the heart and soul of the Games, and we really need to focus on that city centre. So we've got the bones of the infrastructure bringing people in, and we know we've got our eye on the housing and mixed-use centres on the outside. But once people are here, how are we getting them around, and how are we making that a wonderful, seamless, accessible experience for them? And so that arbour and the walkways, I think, are going to be vital to make sure that people do get to navigate the city and see the best of what we've got to show.
This is Future Brisbane, presented by the Courier-Mail in partnership with Sky News.
So, Stephen Miles, Deputy Premier, you've made a massive decision this week in State Cabinet. Adrian Schrinner, our series this week's all been about lifestyle and livability, and you're all about how Brisbane can be better. And so thanks for joining the panel. And to you, Cindy, thanks for joining the panel. Happy Thanksgiving. Great to have you here. Now, one thing that you have done with the organising committee is you've gone overseas and you've asked people what do they know about or think about Brisbane. Can you share with us some of the early thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we've started the work on the brand. We've announced that. We've done an extensive work in the country, and particularly in Queensland, and many of the things that Queenslanders want to stand for and proud of, you're aware of: lifestyle, natural beauty. There's an ambition here to be more. The interesting research came internationally, though, and we did test some of the directions we were heading in international markets. And of the focus groups, we did focus groups in 6 international markets, and 3 out of 90 people could name Brisbane and point it out on a map, and 0 knew that we were hosting the Games. So that is both
3 out of 90.
I don't think I'm surprised by that. And much of the stuff we tested, and we've done some hype reels, was like, once they start to see it, they're like, I want to go there. And that is the opportunity. And I think we can shape what this city, what this region, what this country are known for in an international audience. And people talk, Andrew talks about it all the time, put it on the map. And I think it is the opportunity. But we're starting from a relatively low level of awareness.
And that, Lord Mayor, is the opportunity, right? That's the blank canvas that we have in terms of how people see us from overseas.
And that's the point of difference between us hosting the Games and everyone else, because most of the cities that host are well known already. And you look at Tokyo, Paris, LA, London, Beijing, they're known. We aren't, and we're about to be. Australia has a great brand. So Australia is a respected and well-known brand around the world. Brisbane can fit into this market of being, I think, the most Australian place on earth. We've got everything you would want to do here on our doorstep.
Yesterday, is this the most exciting time to be the Minister for Planning in Queensland? How are you planning to address some of these issues? Transport is a big issue, but the biggest issue that comes up time and time again at the moment is this housing issue. I wrote down a few numbers for us here that, according to your plan, South East Queensland is going to go from 4 million to 6 million in the period of the 20-year plan that you've just announced. That's going to require 900,000 new homes. 70% of them are going to have to be built as infill. How are we going to maintain our lifestyle while developing all of those new homes.
The Olympics are, I think, a real catalytic opportunity for us to deliver on that plan. By the 2040s, we'll have more people in Brisbane than there are currently in Sydney. So we'll be bigger than they are now. And I don't know about you, but if I wanted to live in Sydney, I'd live in Sydney, and I don't want to live in Sydney. So we need more houses and better transport, and that was always the vision for bidding to host the Olympics and Paralympics, that it would be that catalyst. And we need those houses and transport alternatives in the inner city. We need them in the suburbs, the outer suburbs, the wider region, Gold Coast all the way to Sunny Coast, and in the regions. People are moving to our fantastic regional cities as well, and that's what the Olympics need to deliver for the region.
Robbie, I'll start with you because you're on the cusp of a very big project that's coming up. Queen's Wharf, there have been some delays. I guess I've got to start by asking, are we still on time, the new time? But also, do you see Queen's Wharf as being transformative for the CBD of the future?
Absolutely. Look, I'll answer the timeline in a minute, but look, in terms of the project, it is a transformational project for Brisbane. I'm super proud to be running the Star at the time we're delivering a project like Queen's Wharf. You know, $3.6 billion of investment, a phenomenal precinct. We're creating a destination of fun. It's just going to be amazing for Brisbane. So, very exciting project to bring on board, and something that Brisbane has not seen the likes of. And whilst it still looks a little bit like a construction site, it's getting close, and there's areas where it's completed inside and pretty much ready to go. We've got restaurants that are completely fitted out. They've got all the gears in there, plates, knives, forks, everything. You could actually start them tomorrow. But there's other areas which are still running a little bit late. So we're on track to deliver in the first half of calendar 24.
Yep. One of the interesting quirks, I think, of Brisbane and Queensland is that when you get outside of the state, it's that Queensland brand that's really powerful. Yeah. People recognise Queensland. They think about going to the Great Barrier Reef. They think about the Gold Coast, perhaps more so than they immediately think about what is on in Brisbane, which is, I think, different and unique about this state when you compare, for example, Sydney, New South Wales, Melbourne, Victoria. Robbie, do you think that we need to do more to make Brisbane the focus when interstates are looking to us and international? I
think we do. I mean, there is still a little bit of that, I don't think we as Brisbaneites actually market Brisbane to the extent we could. So I think it's incumbent on everybody in this room to actually start talking about Brisbane and what's available. I do think the Beta initiative is fantastic, because it's about, when people are here, trying to encourage them to do something else and make them realise what else is available. But I think there is a marketing exercise to do. We need to be seen more as not just the place you go to get to the Gold Coast or get to go to Noosa. Brisbane's got a real creative hub of its own. It's got an enthusiasm of its own. It's got a personality of its own. And I think Cindy mentioned that, when you get to Brisbane, you just realise how friendly people are, how engaging it is, how fun the city is, how much you can do. But we need to market that a bit more.
I just want to pick up on something Robbie was saying there about promoting Brisbaneites and how we project ourselves to the world. And I think it's one of the challenges that we find that we are a nice place. We're inherently humble, which is one of the characteristics that makes it a good place to visit, a good place to do business. And when you have that predisposition, it's hard to then promote yourself. So I think we've got to find that balance between still bottling up what's great about Brisbane and then how we tell that story to the world. And in the tourism space, if someone says, what's your hot tip for Brisbane? Stay longer. Just stay longer, stay a couple of extra days, and you'll find out what it is great about Brisbane. And that's the journey that we're on. We're all looking for a tagline, a river city or whatever, a new world city, whatever it might be. But maybe we don't need that. But we just need to find the right way to promote what's great about here to the world.
Treasurer Jim Chalmers, it's great to have you with us today.
Thanks,
Thank
Kylie.
you very much.
Thank you.
So, what would your view be for what can Brisbane be famous for going forward?
Well, thanks for having us, Kylie, and everyone, and great panel. I think we've got an opportunity in South East Queensland and Greater Brisbane in particular to be the most dynamic part of the national economy. And I think that's partly about the Olympics, but it's not just about the Olympics. I think if you think about the combination of industries and opportunities here in the southeast corner of Queensland, I think that's, if we fast forward to 9 or 10 years' time down the track, I think will be a much bigger part, arguably the most dynamic, the most productive, the most innovative, the most competitive part of the national economy. And so really I think, we've become accustomed in this country to thinking about two things. First of all, that the prosperity is created in the kind of Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra triangle, and I think a much greater proportion of the prosperity is going to be created in the, let's say, Sunshine Coast, Ipswich, Gold Coast triangle, with the big population centres of Brisbane and especially Logan making a big contribution to that. And so we'll need to think differently about that. And then secondly, for my whole life, and people would be familiar with this understanding that in Queensland, most of the population lives outside Greater Brisbane. That's been the case, I think, since 1978. And my Treasury guys tell me in the Population Centre that around the time of the Olympics that will cross over and we'll go back to being a state where most of the population lives in Greater Brisbane. And so that will change how we think about ourselves as well, how we think about the national economy, but also as Queenslanders, how we think about that balance between Greater Brisbane and the bush.
Thank you so much, Treasurer. Stephen from Brisbane Airport Corporation, we might go to you now. So you heard earlier about the complete fantastic networking across Brisbane that we're going to have with Cross River Rail. The Lord Mayor, Adrian Schrinner, said it would actually help us get some better infrastructure to the airport, which is what we need. What are your views on how we can actually get that to happen?
Yeah, well, Brisbane Airport is the place that connects Queenslanders with each other. We fly to more than 30 locations across this great state, and across the country we fly to 61 domestic locations, more than any other airport in the country. And then we connect Queensland to the rest of the world. So connection is at the heart and soul of everything that we do. Last year we had 20 million passengers come through our terminals, and that will grow to 30 million by 2032. 20,000 people come to work at the airport each and every day, and that'll grow to 30,000 workers. But 97% of all of those people are coming and going by motor vehicles. We need to make sure that we can get people connected into fast, reliable, affordable public transport, and that will be the key to unlocking, from a congestion point of view, to the Deputy Premier's comments about affordability for people and cost of living. And I think that's something that the private sector and government of all levels need to be working on together.
So, Stuart, thank you for stepping in on behalf of Ed, who couldn't be with us, sadly, today. But Ed did a fantastic opinion piece in the Sunday Mail this week talking about just turning Fortitude Valley into Silicon Valley and also using our local homegrown talent.
Yeah, so we're a little biased. We think that, come 32, we should be known as a tech sector for not only Australia, but the Southern Hemisphere if we can make it. I don't think Australia or Brisbane know how good they are. I don't think it's promoted. We talk in this town a lot about mining and the traditional things, but the tech sector here is so strong and growing so fast. We need more support, though. We need, we've got the #1 university in the country now. Why are we not leveraging that more to build more tech, to build through more resources to grow? We want to be the area that creates. There's no reason we're not. Right? We've got the IP here. We've got the intelligence. We've just got to push them in the right direction because there's a groundswell. We just need to turn it on.
So finally, if there was one thing that we could be famous for going forward, Jim Chalmers, what would you like to see?
I think foresight. I think the secret to this Olympic opportunity is not just the very specific kind of measurable parts of it, but the ability to have, people like yourselves come together to work on something meaningful, that we can't quite see yet. We have a sense of it, but we can't quite see it in its final form. I think that focuses the mind. And so if we can, as part of being the best part of the national economy, if we can make the most of this opportunity to be foresight, to exercise foresight, I think that would be the thing.
Yep, that's excellent. What about you, Stuart? What do you think?
Building unicorns, right? It is about building that tech sector. We can do it. We just have to focus. So for me, it's not about a cost issue. It's just a refocus. We spend so much time and effort talking about things that are old and non-sustainable. If we focus on this, we could easily do it. The infrastructure is there. The want is there. We just have to do it.
And with the foresight, it can be happening.
Yeah.
What about you, Stephen?
I think from what I hear in the room, you want Brisbane to be that fun place. I think that's what we'd love to see. We all want to escape boredom. We all want to, hang out with our families, but to be a fun, connected place that's easy to get around. Somewhere that you not only want to just come and visit and hang out, but where life is easy and life is good.
And the stay longer. I love that from earlier today. Stay longer, give Brisbane a chance, and you'll find how exciting it is. Kate, finally with you.
For me, it's a place that grows people. In one sentence.
Short and sweet and to the point.
Together, we've glimpsed into the future, where innovation meets sustainability, where dreams weave into the fabric of our beloved Brisbane. This summit is a collective venture, showing off the host city for the 2032 Games. Thank you for watching. I'm Peter Stefanovic. Goodbye.